Alright guys, as you can see, I went ahead and glued the coil to the cone, put my E6000 down and went ahead and clamped the surround in place. And that was about 30 minutes ago. So what I'll do is I'll let this set for another couple hours, and then I'll clip the lead wires back, solder them in place, and then glue them to the inside of the cone. And then tomorrow sometime I'll just test it on low power and make sure, there's no issues with it. I always try to do that. Mainly because this cone was repaired. Like the owner of it repaired it with epoxy because the collar, where the collar glues to the cone itself, it was starting to crack a little bit, and he heard some rattling. Seen that was the problem, and then like he epoxied it in place. I think the person he got this from probably abused it quite a bit. So I just want to do that to make sure there's no problems, because I really didn't want to have to dig all that epoxy out, separate the cone, and then just do all that additional work and recentering the cone and so forth. So I hope it's level the way it was glued up before, because I think right after that's when it, like it finally just took a shit. So that's why I'll test it on low power before I put the dust cap on it. One thing I wanted to let you guys know, like, we're just going to talk about kicker for right now. Other manufacturers do it as well. So with kicker, like, they use a smaller 2-inch coil, a 2 3/8, and a 2 5/8 inch coil. And a lot of times, until you tear the subwoofer apart, you don't know what coil you're getting. I've had a pair of matching L7s. One had a 2 3/8, one had a 2 5/8 inch coil in it. So when you get it apart, you need to measure your coil to make sure that you're ordering the right one, and just don't order the parts assuming what coil size you have. Don't order the parts until you tear it down and measure it. One thing to note, if it's a dual 4-ohm like this, right, you have to put a dual 4-ohm coil back in it. You can't put a dual 2-ohm coil. They will not fit. The gaps are different. Now, if this was a dual 2-ohm, you could put a dual 4-ohm coil in it, because again, the dual 2-ohm has a larger gap, so the 4-ohm coil will fit in it. But you can't go the opposite way, like I said before. You can't put a dual 2-ohm and a dual 4-ohm. So you need to measure and know what ohm load coil you're buying. Speaking of voice coils, I'm going to do a video, and we're going to do more of a deep dive into voice coils, because some of the things you guys are being told is incorrect information. For a little bit now, I've talked to like 6 different people, just 5 or 6 anyways, of you guys, about voice coils and power handling. And the voice coil size alone does not, like, it alone does not dictate the power handling of a subwoofer. There's a couple of you said, well, you were told like a 3-inch coil with like 4 layers good for 1,500 watts, and if it's an 8-layer, 2,500 watts. Like, that's just nonsense. Like the voice coil size, again, the size alone doesn't just dictate the power handling. There's lots more things that go into it, like former material, the type of wire being used, the gauge of the wire being used, like the adhesives that's being used to hold the wire to the former, the cooling of the motor. You've got thermal power handling, you've got mechanical power handling. There's a lot more that goes into it than that. There's some drivers that may have a 2.5-inch and a 2-inch coil that handles just as much power as some of the 3-inch coil drivers. So again, voice coil size alone does not dictate the power handling. But we'll go over that. And I'm going to touch on some bullshit from a couple of weeks ago, too, at some point. Just when I feel like addressing it, again, some of this shit it blows my mind how people act, guys. But anyways, we'll come back and I'll do the leads on it. And then after that, this will be done.